Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today we'll update you what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center, discussing the present state of the judiciary system in New York. We'll give you more details a little later on in the show. Then we'll speak with a pediatric allergist about tips to know for students with food allergies that are heading back to school. And then a little later on, we'll discuss how the pandemic is affecting home and property owners and how it's impacting the community. And later on, we'll discuss the new products Samsung has released and the rumors about the new iPhone 14. Is it true? Well, we'll get some insight. And then finally, with students going back to school, we're going to talk about some wellness tips, how to reduce stress, anxiety, and also some meditation. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime, and you are watching Open, a live show that brings the Bronx to New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. We encourage you to stay connected to us on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV, and of course, our website at bronxnet.org. Well, some things have been going on through the past week. We'll take you through some with our Bronx updates. We start off with transportation news, new news regarding the environmental review on congestion pricing. It was publicly released by the MTA stating that motorists driving into New York City could pay tolls as high as $23. MTA officials are considering several tolling plans. The base plan calls for $9 peak tolls with $7 off peak and $5 overnight rates. The toll will charge more during peak hours between 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. However, the plan could go as high as $23 for all drivers during peak times. Congestion pricing is expected to take effect in 2023. That's all the time we have for our Bronx updates, but we are not out of show. Got a full show up ahead. Stay with us. Open continues right after this. And welcome back. Throughout the pandemic, New York State's judiciary system has experienced major challenges. Once resuming normal operations, the court had the issue of dealing with thousands of backloaded cases. Now, the question is, what is the current state of the judiciary system? Joining us now to share more details, we've got attorney and host of Today's Verdict right here on BronxNet, David Lesch. And David, as we are glad to have you, and I'll start off with the issue. How's it been for you? Because as we talked about a huge backlog of cases prior to COVID and the court system being shut down, but from what I understand, things are beginning to open back up.
Well, I'll just start by saying, I mean, just take a look. I'm in a suit and tie. Other times I've been on your show in the last year and a half, I haven't been. The reason I'm wearing a suit and tie is that I have to be in court today, and you must wear a suit and tie when you're in court. So if that pretty much tells you that things are slowly getting back to the way they used to be. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm able to move cases as fast as I was moving them before, whether it's the personal injury cases or the medical malpractice cases, but the conferences are starting to move quicker. I'm starting to get conferences faster. Those conferences are not always virtual. A lot of times I have to go in to court to conference the case to make sure that all discovery is done. And then, once all discovery is done and the case goes on the trial calendar, that's when we start talking money back and forth from the plaintiff to the defendant attorney back and forth. And if that doesn't happen and you can't settle the case, you get a trial date. Now, during COVID, you really weren't getting too many trial dates. And that was, enabling the defendants not to put so much money on cases, knowing that they were not going to be forced to trial. Well, now that we have trial dates, I have 3 coming up, one in December, one in January, one in February, full-blown trials with a judge and a jury that we're ready to go. That basically lets you know that things are getting back to normal. Now, it's not like I have a trial next month or the month after that. So the trials are spaced out at least 3 to 6 months in advance, but we are getting there. And I think the administrative judge of the courthouse, certainly in Bronx County, is trying to go through the backlog and catch up. But, time only knows how long it's going to take to get through the mountain of cases that have piled up over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, you talked to me before, and I know we've had this conversation before that during COVID, a lot of lawyers were encouraging their clients, listen, if a settlement is on the table, probably the best thing to do is to take the settlement, given the fact that you're going to have to wait so long. Is that still the order of the day right now?
I still recommend to my clients that because of the backlog, if they're making a fair offer and you're close to 80% of what you would normally be getting, and you don't have to wait another 2.5, maybe 3 years sometimes, especially if you're suing the city of New York, the backlog there is so long. I say to them, you're better off maybe taking the money now, investing it in something else to make some money off of that money, than to wait the 2.5 years. And by the way, you never know what happens. You go in front of a jury, you never know what a jury is going to do. So it behooves you to think rationally. And I always use this way of thinking when I'm talking to a client who's a little bit on the fence. I say, look, I have X amount of cases in this office. I said, you only have one case. I said, if I lose your case or you don't get any money, that's your only case. I make fees on many other cases. So I will say to them, do you really want to roll the dice on this case? I said, this is your only case. So do you want to wait 2.5 years and then roll the dice? I mean, you're getting 80% of the money now. And a lot of times when I tell them that, and they understand how long they have to wait, they usually do take my advice and they will settle the case. But then it still takes 30 days just to get the money in after they sign the release, and 90 days to get the money in if they're suing the city of New York and they sign the release. So there's still a time limit. But the answer to your question is, I do recommend taking a settlement if it means waiting for a very long time for a trial. And yes, most of my clients do take my advice.
Yeah. And so right now, what are we seeing in the courts? Are we seeing a particular style in terms of, I know we want to talk about wrongful death and that seems to be rising up in the court system right now. What about landlords? I know that's huge too, given the fact that we had the eviction moratorium stopped.
That's right. Well, you're absolutely correct. The landlord-tenant court is flooded with cases. Landlords are filing just one after another, from what I'm told. And I don't really do landlord-tenant work, but my clients, in terms of the ones that I do personal injury, come in and are constantly asking me, what's going on? What should they do? Because it turns out that they're getting these eviction notices or holdovers. So what I usually tell them, I said, look, the courthouse is on 167th Street in the Grand Concourse. Go in there, go to the order to show cause window, take out an order to show cause, ask to see the judge. You won't need a lawyer, and tell them what's preventing you from paying your rent. Maybe you don't believe that the landlord is doing the proper repairs, or maybe there are some other issues that are going on. Maybe there's bed bugs or there are other issues. Maybe that's why you're not paying. Let's get it in front of a judge. I don't think you need a lawyer. You'll be able to get in there and do it on your own. If you need a lawyer, we'll find you one. And that's what I usually recommend when they come in. But from what I am told, landlord-tenant court is packed with cases to get through the backload over the last 2.5 years. It's not the most pleasant place to practice as an attorney either. It's tough, but everything's been, was put on hold, and now we're all playing catch up. With respect to the other types of cases I'm handling, and one type of case that I did want to talk to the viewers about, which I think is important, has to do with the wrongful death cases, because no matter how many times I get these cases in, and I have one that just came in recently that I'm reviewing, the viewers don't really understand what it means when you have someone, unfortunately, who dies as a result of somebody's negligence. That could be motorcycle, that could be somebody working for a particular company and they get hurt, even if it's on the job. If you can show a grave injury, you can sue for wrongful death. But they always, feel that, look, Mr. Lesch, I've been suffering myself. I lost my wife. I lost my child. I should be able to recover from my emotional pain. I've had to miss work. Emotionally, I can't deal with it. I've been seeing a psychiatrist. The family is just a wreck. And I say to them, you can't recover for that. I said, that's your own emotional pain. I said, there is no recovery. For wrongful death, you can only recover for your pecuniary loss, your monetary loss. And by the way, if you can't show that the decedent and the person who passed away was actually supporting you, there's no case. There'll be a motion to dismiss. So it does not matter that you have a great relationship with your dad or your sibling or your child, but if they were not supporting you financially, your case will be dismissed because it's based on pecuniary loss. And if they don't have a will, you got to go to the statute to find out who takes as a result of the intestacy. You die without a will, your children, no children, your parents, no parents, Andrew's uncles and aunts, and you find somebody, the attorney, who brings the case has to appoint an administrator, and that person, who the administrator, who you're going to be getting money for in the wrongful death, has to have a financial pecuniary loss. How much was this decedent supporting you? What was his life expectancy? He had a great job. He was going to be supporting you for the next 20 years. And then that adds up. Now, there is one thing, Daren, this is very, very important. It's called a survivorship action, and it goes hand in hand with the wrongful death action. A survivorship action is, just so you understand, the action belongs to the estate for the decedent's pain and suffering prior to death, meaning you're recovering for the pain and suffering that the decedent experienced before they died. If it's an instantaneous death, there's no recovery. But if the person lingered, could have only been for seconds, that they screamed or they yelled before the car hit them, or they moaned, that's example before they died. That's an example that the emotion that they physically suffered pain themselves. So you can recover for that. That you can recover for. That's called a survivorship action. But your own emotional pain, you can't. And my viewers many times don't understand that. And my clients don't understand that. And we're trying to change that in the legislature. We haven't been able to do it yet. We're working on it. But it's a very important thing that I want everybody to know in terms of cases, those types of cases. I thought, it's been a long time since I've come on your show and I've been give legal tips. I used to go through the alphabet. I guess I'd be up to W for wrongful death. But this is an area that I find that most people in the Bronx certainly don't know this. And I just think it's so important. And as the courthouse gets back functioning and the wrongful death cases start moving along, and that's where the big money is, Daren. That's where you really recover a lot of money, millions of dollars. It's for pecuniary loss. You get yourself an economist, the plaintiff's attorney, pay the money for the economist to see how much that decedent would have made. It's so important. And you go in there and you do the best you can. So that's something I wanted to discuss, is handling these death cases in New York. Very, very important that you get the right attorney and they understand, what the recovery is. I hope that helps.
Well, we got the right man to break it down. David Lesch, our legal analyst. You see him on BronxNet, also the host of today's verdict. And David, we got to leave it there, but thank you, of course, for bringing back and bring us up to speed with what's happening in the courts. In the meantime, stay busy, my friend.
It's always great seeing you, Daren.
All righty, take care. And want to let you know, viewers, we got more, so don't go anywhere with us. We'll continue in a moment. And welcome back to the show. Food allergies are a growing food safety as well as a public health concern affecting an estimated 8% of children in the United States. Now that's 1 in 13 children, or about 2 students per classroom. Now, with many schools opening their doors in the upcoming weeks, our next guest is giving us some tips to help guide you through any possible food allergies your child may have. Now, joining us to share more, we've got a pediatric allergist and immunologist and assistant professor of pediatrics at Mount Sinai Kravis Children's Hospital, Dr. Roxanne Oriel. And Dr. Roxanne, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
And as we talk about, kids are going back to school, and the one thing that parents are always on guard for are the issue of food allergies. But as I said in the lead, they're becoming a little bit more and more prevalent as we see in our school system.
Yes, indeed they are. And studies have shown that we maybe experienced an increase in the past decade. And so this is a problem that we need to face head on. And it's important that parents and children who are relatives of those that have food allergies be prepared. One of the first things to think about is whether or not your child actually has a food allergy. So a lot of people do think that they have food allergies and they may not. So seeing an allergist who is experienced at diagnosing, managing, and coaching on how to treat is very important, because you don't want to have avoidances of foods unnecessarily.
Yeah. So when we talk about food allergies, how does a parent know whether or not a child is actually in that place of food allergies? What are some of the common symptoms that we may see?
Sure. So if a child were to eat a food and within 2 hours, typically more immediate, within minutes, the child experiences redness, itching, hives, which is a rash that leads to a raised area, lip swelling, difficulty breathing, severe belly pain, vomiting, any one of those symptoms immediately after ingesting a highly allergenic food should prompt questioning about an allergic reaction and a food allergy. So if your child has experienced something like that, then it's best to see a specialist who is able to determine whether or not this is truly an allergy or if it's something else. But yeah, I mean, we at Kravis Children see a lot of patients who are avoiding foods unnecessarily. And so I think one of the major things is, does your child actually indeed have a food allergy, or were they told to avoid because of positive testing? And so very important that an experienced allergist determines that. So diagnosis is very important.
We hear a lot about peanut allergies. That's the number one that we always hear a lot about. But are there any other food allergies that are more prevalent that we see in our children?
Sure. So yes, everybody is very aware, hyper aware of peanut allergic individuals, so much so that there's an FDA approved treatment for peanut allergic individuals now. But what people may not know is that tree nut allergy is starting to increase in prevalence, and tree nuts include foods like cashews, pistachios, walnuts, and pecan. Sesame is another one that other families may not realize could be an allergy. Fish, shellfish, dairy, eggs, wheat, soy, all of those are top allergens.
And so for a parent that says, okay, I know my child has a food allergy and they're sending their child to school, what's the best possible thing for that parent in approaching the school and letting them know about that food allergy, and what should they be doing?
So one of the really important things to do is to ensure that your child has an emergency action plan to provide to the school That emergency action plan details the symptoms that should prompt medication and which medication to administer. So for example, mild symptoms like a little bit of itching or a couple of hives around the mouth should prompt use of an oral antihistamine, such as diphenhydramine or cetirizine. Severe symptoms, head to toe hives, vomiting, difficulty breathing, repetitive cough, just not looking right, any one of those should prompt epinephrine use. And so one of the major things that we counsel on is ensuring that patients bring their emergency action plan to the school so that the school is permitted to treat their child should they have an allergic reaction, and also so that everyone's on the same page. Okay, this is how you treat an allergic reaction if symptoms are mild. This is how you treat it if the symptoms are severe. So that's step one. Step two is ensuring that there are medications available should there be a problem at school. So how does the school manage allergic reactions if this were to occur? Do they have stock epinephrine, meaning one that's not assigned to specific children, but if there was an allergic reaction that were to occur, it's ready? Do they have oral antihistamines at the ready? Do they have a school nurse? So all of these things are issues that should be discussed with the school prior to the start of the school year so that it's a seamless transition. Parents don't have to worry because everyone is on the same page.
Are we finding that more and more schools are actually prepared for children with food allergies as the numbers continue to rise? I've heard from some parents that sometimes schools don't even have an adequate plan to be able to deal, but are we seeing more and more awareness and ability to be able to treat these students as they come through doors?
Yes, so we are seeing an increased stability of managing food allergies just because there's a rise in this condition. If your school is not equipped to treat an allergic reaction, you can advocate, hey, this is how to treat an allergic reaction. This is how you would treat my child, show them, instruct them on how to use the auto injector. But most schools now have some sort of plan in place to treat. There is somebody, maybe only one, but somebody on campus that has been trained to use these medications and trained to identify symptoms. Is every school like this? No, unfortunately. But I think over time it will be something that, I hope would be required. The CDC does have voluntary guidelines on how to manage food allergies that were put out years ago. It's voluntary, but it's there for schools to refer to should they have questions on how to manage this appropriately.
Yeah. What are some of the common mistakes that we're finding amongst parents as they're dealing with their children when it comes to food allergies? Are there any things that stick out to mind as some of the most prevalent things that parents do that they really shouldn't do?
Yes, so sometimes parents don't bring the medications with them everywhere that the child goes. So let's say, take for example, when a patient comes to my office and they don't have their epinephrine auto injector. And I say, well, what happens if your child accidentally ate something or picked up a snack and had an allergic reaction on the cab ride over here? So one of the most common mistakes is not carrying the emergency medications wherever you go. Yes, your child may not have a plan to eat anything, but what if they accidentally ate something? It's almost like a life insurance policy. Yes, you may never need to use it, but you have it just in case of a problem. So that's one thing. Carrying your auto injector, carrying your oral antihistamine, just in case there's an allergic reaction, even if you don't plan to eat, that's very important. Another one is avoiding the food if you were told that your child's allergic. I have some patients and their families who experiment, especially adolescents. Adolescents are the higher risk group. They take chances and they will try a little bit to see if they'll have a reaction, or sometimes they just want to fit in with their peers. So that's another thing that could be problematic, is experimentation with eating the food that they're deemed allergic to.
Very important information there. Thank you so much for being with us. And we want our viewers to know now, if you want more information or you have any questions, please visit the website, mountsinai.org. And also, don't hesitate to call at 212-241-5548. Dr. Roxanne Oriel, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
All righty. You have a wonderful day too. And we want you to continue having a wonderful day with us here on Open. That's why we encourage you, don't go anywhere. Taking a quick break, but Open returns right after this. And welcome back. Many home and property owners are facing foreclosure in light of the pandemic and the end of the eviction moratorium. Now, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, home price growth has increased in the double digits every month from August 2020 through mid-July this year. The question is, how does this affect potential home buyers? And joining me now to share a little bit more about in details, we've got the founder of the Real Estate Investors Association New York chapter, Dr. Teresa R. Martin. And Dr. Martin, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so when we talk about this is a real crisis that continues as we see these numbers that are continuing to rise in terms of growth, but yet and still we do have a crisis on our hands. Give me your assessment of where things are right now.
Well, where things are right now is we have an issue where we have the tenant side, we have the homeowner side, we have the investor side, we have the property owner side, right? So the reason why we have such a crisis is because one hand is not talking to the other. So in the midst of all of the help for the tenant side, right, with the rent moratoriums and, ERAP, which is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, we have not seen such help on the homeowner side. So right now, we're really trying to struggle to make sure that the Black and Brown community specifically hold on to their homes, and we need to reach out and get more assistance for that. That's where we're seeing, no help coming on the horizon and too many hurdles that they're faced with coming up with trying to save their homes through mortgage foreclosure.
Yeah, when we talk about communities of color, obviously very adversely affected when it comes to real estate. Give us a little bit of an insider view as to what you're seeing as the disproportionate numbers when it comes to communities of color.
Yes, absolutely. Most people of color, when they are going into the closing room, when they're purchasing their home, right, they are told that it's best to get a two-family, right, or a three-family, so the tenants can help you offset your mortgage. So when we're looking at the rent moratoriums and things of that sort, if that is how we are sustaining our mortgages and helping us supplement our mortgages, it tends to reason why so many people, Black and Brown community people, are facing foreclosure right now, because the rent moratoriums, who I believe was sent to address the affordable housing issue and the apartment issues, not necessarily the mom and pop smaller homeowner issue, but when they come up with these things, they come up with these things that negatively impact the 4-unit and under. And that's who we are. That's who the people of color are. And we are really trying to struggle, trying to get people who are currently in their homes, in these units, into paying their rents. It's 75,000, over 75,000 cases right now in eviction court right now. Homeowners are not being able to see any type of relief as it relates to paying their mortgage. So what do? They can't take another job because we're in COVID, and a lot of people have been now home, right? So there's a whole lot of things going behind the scenes that we're not talking about and we're not addressing.
And we're talking about the fact that also more people are turning towards real estate. More people are turning towards real estate as an investment for their income. Give us a little insight as to how this has progressed and what we're seeing with boots on the ground.
Absolutely. Now, so when we say a lot of people are turning to real estate, the problem is that we're losing a lot of people in New York going outside of the state of New York because of all of the cumbersome laws and legislation that negatively impact. So when people are turning into real estate, they're not looking at the old days of wholesaling a property or flipping a property. They're turning into being the bank. Why are they turning into being the bank, Daren, you may ask, is because in all of these things that's going on, what's happening is who wins? It seems to be the tenants and the banks, but the people in the middle are always being crushed. So you see a lot of people and a lot of people of color, especially through my association, training people on how to now buy sustainable mortgage notes to help people, preserve and build wealth through the avenue of real estate.
When we see communities of color, we know a lot of people are losing their homes. We talked about the number of people who are facing eviction and then also at the same time foreclosure. What can we see as an avenue to be able to help people in sustainability? Because we get the word, like, owning a home is the American dream is what quote unquote has been said. But yet and still, when you lose it, it becomes the American nightmare. So how do we help people live the dream and not live the nightmare?
Yeah, and we're gonna have to have some things on the books, honestly, to help that. So if we have a mission, which is my mission, to help people share, build, and preserve wealth, we're gonna have to come up with some items on the legislation books to help homeowners who are in default stay into their homes. We're gonna have to have something to help banks remove some of the toxic assets off their books, which is their goal, and then help some smaller investors to be able to help those homeowners by getting into safe, yield, and secure asset-based assets. So I would say we have to deal with the ERAP, getting people approved quicker, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, getting people paid quicker so that homeowners can now take those rents so that they can now put those into the mortgages, okay? Because we do know that protects tenants as well, because the ERAP, once a homeowner or landlord accepts ERAP, they can no longer evict a tenant for 12 months. So it helps both sides of the aisle. But the problem is we have such a backlog in the eviction court, and we have such a backlog with getting people approved for these services that the tenants are suffering and the homeowners are suffering. But if we try to put things in play where we can get these things approved more quickly, then the tenants will be secure in their tenancy, and the homeowners have the monies that they can do to pay the bills, expenses, most importantly, their mortgage.
I want to talk about bridging the gap a little bit, because when we talk about communities of color, many times you hear from people in this who are homeowners, who are dealing in the area of landlord-tenant, the access to resources just simply aren't there, or they are there, but they're not really being tapped into and taken advantage of by those who are in communities of color. What can we do, and what are we seeing as the reasons for why we're seeing this not being able to cross the bridge to be able to get the help that they need?
I believe that one of the biggest issues is that lack of knowledge, right? We don't know where to go because there's so many things going on in the news, but there's not a lot of information being shared about the resources that's available. I encourage people to go onto our website. We have a whole advocacy legislation committee that deals with the bills and legislation that is coming up that may be negatively impacting both tenants and or homeowners. We also have a bill track 50 where we're tracking all of these bills when they're going in and out of committee. So I do encourage people to stay in contact with my association, but also stay in tune and go onto the New York State legislative websites and find out what things are going on there, because there's so many bills right now that is going on that we may not necessarily know about. The one big thing is, the tenants seeking lease renewals. That's a big issue. It's a big issue. Why aren't tenants getting lease renewals? The biggest issue is not because of the small investors or the small property owners, mom and pop landlords. It should be dropped squarely on Wall Street and equity firms using rentals to raise their profit levels, where the small investors and homeowners are encouraging more relationship with good tenants. They want to keep good tenants, but this is some of the things that we really need to stay in tune with. We need to get out there and vote. We need to make sure that we know what the issues are so that we are now coming in as a community. And one of the things that I do want to say is that information is key. There's a lot of misinformation out there and not a lot of positive information out there, but we have to stay tuned. If you don't know where to go, please, I encourage you to just get onto the New York State website, find out when the committees are meeting, find out when the town halls are being held. Be there, show your voice, make sure they understand who you are and what your issues are. So when they're going behind closed doors, they're not doing it in a vacuum, that they actually know who they are elected to serve.
Yeah, a lot of helpful information there. We want to thank Dr. Teresa R. Martin for sharing with us. And thank you for giving us some insight and certainly some things to look forward to. Appreciate having you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Well, we want our viewers to know now, if you want more information like we talked about, or to find out more about these bills, do me a favor. Visit the website, reianyc.org/real estate, and you'll be able to tap in to find out more about the services as well as those bills that we talked about. All right, we're taking a quick break. We've got more open. Don't go anywhere. We'll return right after this. And welcome back to the show. Well, things have been heating up throughout the course of the summer, and it's jam-packed with gadgets and, just starting to heat up. Samsung recently hosted its latest Galaxy Unpacked event. Now, the event is a virtual presentation showing off some of its most exciting devices for the second half of the year. And we're here now to get a little bit more information. We've got the editor-in-chief of Laptop Magazine, Sherri L. Smith. And Sherri, when we talk about Samsung and we talk about Galaxy, why don't you unpack the event for us?
So Samsung came out with quite a few gadgets. I got and I had the pleasure of touching a few of them before the actual event. And I actually have the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro in my hand. And as you can see, they're smaller than the previous generation. They've got about the same amount of battery life, but what's really cool about these is that in addition to active noise canceling, it's introducing 24-bit audio. So if you're unfamiliar, that's like for audio files, for people that want that crisp, like as the artist recorded it type of sound, that's what you're going to get from these. And of course, it also has 3D audio or spatial audio. So that gives you that immersive surround sound feeling when you're listening to the earbuds. So I've been enjoying my time with that. We're in the process of reviewing both the Galaxy Flip 4 and the Fold 4 and the Galaxy Watch 5, all of which are really so far impressing us in terms of our testing. In terms of the Fold, which is the more expensive phone, which is, we live in the era of $2,000 phones. The Fold isn't quite $2,000. It's about $1,799, but still a pretty penny. But in terms of battery life, with our proprietary battery tests, we're initially seeing scores of about 11 hours or over. So that's really encouraging. And it works with the S Pen, and it's really for productivity users. Now, if you want if you want to do a lot of like TikToks and just selfies and all that, then the Flip is probably for you. It's got a lot of fun colors, including that the purple that Samsung is calling Bora purple. It's more of a lavender lilac, kind of matches my nails right now.
Mm-hmm. Full commercial here, right?
And that one is it's for like the creators. It's for people that want the fun, the novelty, and the usefulness of a foldable phone, but maybe don't need the DeX and like Samsung Knox, and like of course you can still get those security features on the Flip, but it's not as productivity focused as the Fold. And
yeah, are we going to see more people really adapt and go to the Flip? I know we used to have that back in the day, but do you think it's going to be a popular hit?
I think that like the fact that Samsung is on the fourth iteration says a lot. I
Mm.
think I think that people like what's old is new. Like all of a sudden I'm walking down the street, you see folks with Gumbies and I'm waiting for cross colors to just make a grand resurgence. So what's old is new again. And I like Razer tried to bring back the flip Razer to lukewarm results, but I think Samsung really has this down. They're constantly tinkering with the design. The hinge is thinner but sturdier. So and you can even design for the flip. You can even get bespoke. So you can design what the cover look like, the rear panels look like, and everything.
Wow. Well, we talked about the Samsung. We talked about the flip, but I want to flip it a little bit and talk about iPhone. There is a talk possibly that the 14 could be making its way. And from those on the inside, we've heard that there may not be too much of a difference with the 14 as opposed to the 13. What are you hearing on your end?
There are so many, oh my goodness, Apple rumors. Like as soon as one phone launches, everyone is looking towards the next one. So there are a ton of rumors about the iPhone 14 and by proxy the 14 Pro and the Pro Max. For example, the Pro and the Pro Max are supposedly going to get a 48 megapixel camera lens, which will be a major upgrade. But we're hearing that Apple might be having a few issues bringing this to fruition. Pricing is also up in the air. Because the iPhone 14 might get a major storage upgrade. So we've become spoiled with those prices. But Apple does tend to skimp on the storage. So if the storage upgrade story is true, like definitely expect to pay for more storage. Like you don't say like Apple does not just give one storage.
Yeah, yeah. That's
um
that that's traditionally true though, right? We don't find too much storage in Apple, and if you do, you always have to pay that upcharge.
Indeed. And in terms of the iPhone 14, we're hearing that there are going to be a few new color options, including purple. And we're the release date is we're looking towards September to actually hear about it. So I'm expecting to get an Apple invite very soon. Um, so stay tuned for that type of news. But like the rumors are swirling, and like right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be much change in terms of design. Maybe we'll get some new colorways. I want to see about the storage. I want to see about these cameras because those are the things that are really going to um make or break the phone, and of course whatever processor they use. But at this point, like Apple could really use last year's processor and it would still spank most phones in the industry. So
Right.
like they don't have to, but they're going to. So like
Yeah.
you're going to get a better processor no matter what. It's going to be a great like I already know that. Like
Yeah.
I'm worried about the design, the camera, the pricing, storage, and battery life.
Apple will always be Apple. Why don't you introduce our viewers to Steam Deck? For somebody who doesn't know about Steam Deck, give us a little insight.
So Steam Deck is this nifty little gadget, and I forgive me, I left it upstairs, but it basically lets you play your PC games on the go. And it like think of the Nintendo Switch before the PC. So this launched earlier in the year, but due to COVID and supply issues, a lot of people found it hard to get their hands on one. I just got my hands on one. um, and I have to say that I am loving what I'm seeing so far. Like it's portable. It's a little chunky, but it's got to do that because you're literally playing AAA titles. Like I'm able to play games like Deathloop and Witcher 3 and a host of other games that are found in the Steam library uh with relative ease. Like the controllers take a little bit of getting used to, in my opinion. But once I was used to it, I was rocking and rolling like I was playing on any other console. It is a bit pricey.
Mm-hmm.
uh, starting at about $7.99. It's pricey. I'm not gonna lie to you, but for PC gamers that want something on the go, I don't think you're gonna get much better right now. Like there are a couple of people that are working on the oh, and excuse me, let me back up on the pricing. So 649 is the most expensive configuration. That's for 512 gigs of storage, and then the base model gives you 64 gigs of RAM, and that's 399. And then of course there's the middle child, the 256 gig model, that's 529. But yeah, so it like if you are a really avid gamer and you have a Switch but you want to do the same thing with your PC games, this is the route to go for now.
Well, a lot to pay attention to, and certainly we got to bring you back when some more of these things really hit the release, and you get an opportunity to play with them. And after you get an opportunity to play with them, you always get an opportunity to talk to us. And so, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll be on the lookout, and we'll see how these things play out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Sherri Smith. And want more information about any of this? Well, check it out. Visit her on her website, laptopmag.com, and then also on social media at laptopmag. And encourage you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
And welcome back. School is starting. Yes, it is right around the corner. And as it's right around the corner, many students are actually experiencing anxiety. And not only anxiety, but stress between school, family obligations, etc. Well, in many cases, it may not be possible to completely remove sources of stress from your life. But our next guest has some tips on how people can actually reduce their stress. Joining us now to share more details is the plant-based nutrition health coach and owner of CB Health and Wellness, Dr. Cecilia Basbus. And Dr. Basbus, glad to have you back. And yeah, you know, when people go back to school, the first thing that happens is there's an excitement, but then there's also that drain of energy because some people just don't like school. So talk to us a little bit about how do I get to the place where I can increase my energy level when I'm going back to school?
First of all, I think what we should go over is what is energy and where it comes from, right? So energy is a molecule that it's produced by the body, and it's called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, right? So this is created by the mitochondria, and then from the mitochondria, it goes to different places in your body. It goes to your brain, it goes to your digestive system, to your muscles, to everywhere, right? So depending on how much energy you have in your body is how you're gonna fulfill the full day. So what are the things that gives you energy during the full day? It's a good diet, exercise, and a good sleep. Mm. So what are we gonna do? So if you don't have those three things in line, then things don't go well. So you're low in energy, you feel like tired, you feel bloated, depressed, and all that. So the main thing that you have to do is start with a good diet. So a good diet means a very nutritious diet that is full and rich. Let's just put it this way, a more plant-based diet. So it's full with vegetable, fruits, grains, and beans, right? Low in fat, low in sugars, and low in processed foods. So the other thing that you need to do is have exercise. So exercise, what it does is it releases endorphins, which are like happy hormones, right? So the more happy hormones you have, or feeling good hormones that you have, the better you will do during the day. So if you feel happy, or you feel energized or energy, let's put it that way, the more exercise you're going to do. So the more exercise you're going to do, the more fit you're going to be. And if you're more fit, the less energy you will need to thrive during the day. So that's another thing. And then the other thing is a good sleep. So when you sleep at least 8 hours a day, it gives you the chance to your body to create more energy. So, but if you're like stimulating your brain and you sleep like less amount of hours, and you're all like stressed and things like that, then your body needs more energy during your sleep. So then it doesn't have, and it doesn't store the energy you need during the full day for the following day. I don't know if it made any sense.
Yeah, you made perfect sense there. And I talk about, I think a lot of people are really in a place where they want to be able to reduce their stress, and reducing stress is really very important. And I know one of the things you talk about eating, you talk about, resting and diet, that's very important. But I also know that a form of that is also through meditation. Give me a little bit about meditation and the benefits of it when it comes to stress.
So stress is a feeling or an emotion or a tension that you feel when you're under pressure or you feel threatened. This is something that happens to everybody: teachers, parents, kids, or even babies. So if we go back to caveman, what it was a long time ago is it was a physical threat, and that would involve in like something would happen to this caveman, and then he has to act quickly because his life was in danger, right? So the body, what it would do is would release stress hormones. There are adrenaline and cortisol. And this increases your heart rate, your blood pressure, and your blood sugar. In the modern days, what happens is it's more a psychological kind of stress, and it's prolonged in time. And it's related to work stress, financial worries, personal relationship, chronic illnesses. But the problem with all this is that cortisol and adrenaline is also released, but it stays in your body constantly for a very long time. And it affects your brain, your heart, your immune system, your digestive system, and much more, producing like sleep disorders, poor concentration, depression, irritability, muscle pain, and headaches, and appetite changes. So one of the things that you can do to release this stress is to have to do meditation. So meditation is a practice in which you focus your mind and you are engaging with your thoughts, and you release all the stress. So that meditation is a very easy technique, and it could be done anywhere. All you have to do is, you sit in a very comfortable position. It could be sitting, it could be laying down, it can even be standing if you want to. Just try to be aware of like things that are happening around. Okay, so you can close your eyes or you can keep them open. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set a time. So you could start with like 30 seconds, and then later on work your way up to like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever you can. And then there's different types of way of meditating. So you can do like a body scanning. It's like when you're like laying down or you're sitting, and then you just focus your mind into things that are happening in your own body. You go from like your scalp and your hair and how it feels, if it's tingling or anything like that. And then, sorry. And then what you do is like you think about your eyes, the movement, your nose, your mouth, your shoulders, your chest, the breathing, your hands, your fingers, and you go all the way down to your toes. Then there's another type of like meditation that you can do. If you don't like that one, you can do deep belly breathing. What you do is that you put one of your hands on your chest, and the other hand on your stomach. And what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in and out for 5 counts. But you're not going to breathe in and out just like that. It's like you're going to do like a small, slow kind of breathing. So you breathe in counting of 4, you hold it for 2, and then you breathe out in a count of 6. So you breathe in 4, you hold for 2, and you breathe out for 6. So what this does is it just keeps your mind focused in the breathing and not in the surroundings. So when you do that for like 5 times, it just gives you so much relaxation in your body and in your mind that it helps you a lot. And then the other thing that you can do is that you have to start noticing if your mind starts to wander, right? And if it starts to wander, you bring it back to awareness. And also be kind to your wandering thoughts, do not be mean to yourself. And close with kindness. So when you close with kindness, it's like you give yourself a positive thought, something good that you've done, that you took this little amount of time or long period of time just for yourself and to make your body heal. And that's it. I mean,
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I got to go really quickly, but before I leave, I want to talk to college students. I want you to talk real quickly. I got about less than a minute left, but I want you to really give me some quick tips. College students don't always eat well. We know we do fast food. We are in the junk machine, the vending machine, eating a lot of junk food. What can we do real quick? Healthy habits.
So for a college student, what I would do is, first of all, I would try to create a schedule and then make yourself time in the morning. For example, if you have to go to school at 8, you wake up around 6. That means that you have to go to sleep very early, right? And you give yourself time to just have a good breakfast, have some fruits, smoothies, or even scrambled tofu or eggs, which I don't really suggest, but scrambled egg tofu would be great. And then you prepare some your lunch bag, right? That it has to be very nutritious, and also give nutritious kind of snacks. Have fruits, have pretzels, have popcorn if you have a home which are unbuttered. And if you're let's just say if you're in the school and then you don't have any of these foods, and then you have to have some kind of fast food. Choose the fast food wisely. If there's pizza, remove some of the cheese that will produce your digestion to be very slow and you feel yourself heavy, and put some veggies on top of it. If there's a huge sandwich, eat half of it and then eat a fruit. If there's French fries and baked potatoes, choose the baked potatoes. Instead of the sugary drinks, have water and lemon. Keep handy the snacks like pretzels and fruits, like I was saying. If pay a visit to the salad bar, and choose some vegetables. Create your own salad and put some olive oil and some lemon, and it will be great. And then instead of eating the full meal of pasta or heavy food, just accompany with some salad. Keep yourself hydrated, and also first thing, one of the most important things is give yourself time for this meal, right? Because usually kids are, when you're at school or things like that, they don't give themselves time because they're worried about they have to study, they don't have time and all that. But when you don't give time and you're aware of what you're doing, then the whole food and eating, it's just something that's not important, and then you just eat anything. You don't pay attention.
Real helpful tips, and we got to leave it there. Dr. Cecilia Basbus, thank you for sharing with us. And hopefully during this season, we can do better in reducing stress, learning how to meditate, and of course, eating more healthy. Dr. Basbus, thanks again.
Thank you, and I hope I didn't talk too much, because sometimes I talk too much. But
You're all right. You're all right with us. You're all right with us. Well, I want to let our viewers know, if you want more information, visit the website, cbhealthandwellness.com. There you can get the tips and also more insight. Then also follow her on Instagram at CB Health and Wellness. Well, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, of course, you can catch Recablecast on BronxNet Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Now, if you want a brand new episode of Open, come back on Friday morning. My girl, Rena Valentino, will bring you the best of arts and entertainment. Until then, I am Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless. God willing, we'll see you next week with another episode of Open. See you soon.